There is a silent sign, almost invisible, that reveals when a man is not just interested, but truly ready to love a mature woman. It's not something he announces. It's not something he promises. It's something you feel. A sign that makes no noise yet echoes deeply in the body and soul of those who know how to perceive it. And when you recognize this sign, something inside you settles. Doubt dissolves. Urgency fades. And certainty is born without effort. Welcome to Mature Glamour. A space created for women who no longer live waiting for validation, but in a state of presence. Women who have understood that maturity is not the opposite of desire. It is its most refined form. Here, we don't speak of age. We speak of energy, of awareness, of a kind of sensuality that doesn't need to display itself to be felt. A mature woman carries stories in her eyes that don't need to be explained. She has loved, she has lost, she has rebuilt herself. And because of that, she no longer gives herself to empty intensity. She seeks something rarer, something quieter, something real. This content is for you who no longer accept confusing relationships, vague promises, or unstable presences. For you who feel, deep down, that you have reached a point in life where it only makes sense to be involved with someone who knows how to stay. The man who is ready to love a mature woman doesn't arrive trying to impress. He doesn't come competing, showing off, or proving his worth. He arrives whole. He arrives at peace with himself. And that is the most elegant sign of all. He feels comfortable in your presence. Not comfortable out of indifference, but out of emotional maturity. He is not threatened by your light, your autonomy, your history. He doesn't try to shrink you to fit beside him. He grows internally to walk with you. This man doesn't compete for space. He shares it. He doesn't try to lead you where it's convenient for him. He walks beside you, respecting your rhythm. He doesn't feel smaller because you are strong. He doesn't feel insecure because you are aware. On the contrary, he recognizes in you a place where he can rest. And that is deeply spiritual. Something subtle happens when two mature people meet. Time slows down. Conversation doesn't need to be constant. Silence is not frightening. On the contrary, it brings closeness. A man who is ready to love a mature woman can hold silence with presence. He doesn't run away. He doesn't distract himself. He doesn't need to fill the space with empty words. He stays. And that staying communicates more than any declaration ever could. Immature men fear silence because silence forces them to confront themselves. A mature man has already walked that path. He has faced his shadows, his emptiness, his vulnerabilities. That's why he isn't intimidated by feminine depth. He doesn't call sensitivity exaggeration. He doesn't label emotional truth as drama. He listens. He observes. He respects. When a man is ready, you feel it in your body. You relax. Your breath deepens. You don't need to monitor your words, hide your emotions, or perform a younger version of yourself. You can simply exist. And that freedom is sensual. Not an explicit sensuality, but one born from safety. From being seen without being invaded. Desired without being objectified. Honored without being controlled. A mature woman does not seduce through effort. She seduces through coherence, between what she feels, what she thinks, and how she lives. And the ready man recognizes this coherence as something sacred. He doesn't rush processes. He doesn't force intimacy. He understands that true connection happens when there is space, not when there is urgency. He knows that a mature woman doesn't want to be conquered. She wants to be recognized. This elegant sign reveals itself in the details. In consistency. In clarity. In the way he follows through on what he says. In how he respects your boundaries without questioning them. In the absence of emotional games. He doesn't create anxiety. He doesn't create confusion. He doesn't appear intensely only to disappear later. He is predictable, in the best possible sense of the word. He is stable. And stability, to a mature woman, is deeply erotic. The spirituality of this connection lies in the feeling of alignment. There is no ego battle. No need to prove anything. There is exchange. There is listening. There is mutual respect for inner timing. This man understands that feminine maturity is not hardness. It is refinement. It is delicacy with structure. Softness with clear boundaries. If you begin to attract men like this, it is no coincidence. It reflects the inner work you have done. Of the moment you stopped accepting emotional crumbs. Of the day you decided not to shrink yourself to fit into shallow stories. When you change your vibration, life responds. Immature men feel this shift and move away. Mature men feel it and approach with respect. It is also important not to confuse calmness with maturity. Not every calm man is ready. Not every polite man is deep. The ready man sustains consistency even when depth appears. He doesn't flee when the conversation becomes intimate. He doesn't get lost when you show up fully. He isn't frightened when you express your feelings clearly. And when this sign is not present, the mature woman does not argue, explain, or try to convince. She observes. She feels. And she steps away with elegance. Without anger. Without drama. Without resentment. Because she understands that not every encounter is destiny. Some are simply lessons. And she has learned enough to know when to stay and when to move on. Maturity brings a silent gift, the ability to wait without anxiety and to leave without guilt. This is not coldness. It is self-love. It is spirituality applied to real life. It is knowing that love does not need to hurt to be real. That intensity does not need to come with instability. That desire does not need to generate insecurity. A mature woman does not chase. She attracts. She does not beg for presence. She inspires permanence. And when it isn't offered, she withdraws, honors herself, and continues. Because she knows that the love worth having never requires her to abandon herself. If this text resonated with you, it's because there is a woman within you who no longer accepts less than she deserves. A woman who understands that true glamour is not in appearance, but in inner posture. In the way she stands in the world. In how she chooses who is allowed into her life. Mature glamour exists to remind you of this. To reinforce that your maturity is a gift, not a burden. That your depth is an advantage, not a problem. That your sensuality did not fade with time, it transformed into something more powerful, more conscious, more magnetic. Stay in this space. Subscribe to the channel. Allow yourself to listen to other content created for women who chose to live love with emotional elegance, spiritual awareness, and solid self-worth. Each video is an invitation to remember who you are. And never forget, a man who is ready to love a mature woman does not arrive making promises. He arrives with presence. And a mature woman does not wait to be chosen. She recognizes, and moves forward only with those who know how to stay.